What up, everybody? It's me, Mr. Right, here with a Nubatama deck profile. This has the current support from the recent Fighters Collection to help us get a little bit more chaos and mayhem out of our card fighting areas. Now, Stealth Beast Kuroko is just simply the best starter for Nubatama right now until we get a different one that, we'll see what it does. And being that the current support helps us, should she be killed off by Kagero, Narukami, locked with Link Joker, stunned by Mega Colony, whatever Gear Chronicle does with the putting into the bottom of the deck, however your opponent chooses to manipulate this card, we actually have a grade 2 that does the exact same thing, just minus one card. But anyway, boost the attack hits the Vanguard. She can be behind rear or whatever, but my main tactic is putting her behind the Vanguard to increase the likelihood of her hitting. And Soul Blast 1, destroy up 2 cards in the bind zone. Should you have put those cards in the bind zone, or should your opponent have some type of card that puts things in the bind zone for extra guard or what have you? So that's always a good thing right there. This is my personal build. It has taken many wins in the past because of the way I have it built, because nobody sees the hand control that Nubatama has until you start guarding. And I'll go ahead and show you why. I run 3 Hagakure. I did run it at 4 at one time, but the fact that it was just really cloggy. This card right here has, again, stolen me many wins, and nobody sees it coming. Again, nobody really runs Hagakure either. Why? Because he's a 0. But he's a 0 hero. He causes all kinds of mayhem for my opponent. When I guard and my hand is less than theirs, I force them to discard 1 card. Now, should you want to go ahead and hoard these cards to, you got all, let's say you got all 3 or 4 or 2 or whatever in hand, and this is, stride turn. Or whatever. It's like, okay, 2 to pass. This is more like, let's say this is 2 or 3 to pass, but your opponent has, again, more cards than you, and this was all that was in your hand. No matter how many cards is in their hand, it has no limitation, just as long as you have less cards than they do. Counter blast for each cost, and there goes 3 cards right there. So those 3 cards could have helped solidify guard power, riding to the next grade, should that 1 card have been the only card left in their hand. And however the events have, circumstances and, events may be. But this card right here has really helped on the defensive level, because it, again, makes your opponent very wary that, should I attack this, I may discard a card because of this card right here. And it's not hard to have less cards than your opponent. Hell, there was even more times that I actually had more cards than my opponent. And I don't know how, because, Nubatama didn't, the way I have it built shouldn't work like that. But yeah, this card right here, again, steals victories. Nobody sees Hagakure coming because nobody's used to, everybody's used to guarding, but nobody's used to discarding when your opponent guards. So, would definitely recommend this, at least 2, but I run at 3. 4 is a bit cloggy, but just as effective should you want to be stuck at grade 2. And you have these in hand, it's fine. So you can start forcing guard to your, forcing cards out of your opponent's hand so they're down on your level. So I'm going to go ahead with my triggers. Nothing really special. 4 heal, 8 crit, 4 draw. Draw to get cards to my hand, heals to live, and crits to kill. Go ahead with 1s. Running 4 Fuki to start picking cards out of my hand. This card has an errata of 3 or more, not 3 or less. So, yeah. three or more cards in your, and it's not less. You don't have to have less cards in your hand than your opponent for this specific card. So you can start picking cards out of your hand that could have been the next grade that they could have ran, or a PG, a grade 3, something of importance. Should have been a draw trigger or whatever. They would have let it fly. 10K shield, they're kind of iffy on it, but 4 PG, of course, to live and whatnot. And then 4 of another staple card, Dreadmaster. Should this card boost and the attack hits anything? There's been many a time where my column was exactly like this: a draw trigger and Dreadmaster. Nobody attacks the draw trigger just because it's like, it's a draw trigger. It's not gonna, now it's in front of Dreadmaster. Should the attack boost and the attack hits, you have less cards than your opponent. Your opponent has to discard a card, so you can start really doing some real pokes with this card. Should you want to run the stand triggers to hopefully get off a double stand, and you somehow still have less cards than your opponent, again, Dreadmaster is a fantastic card to restand and swing again with. So. But this card is always going to be a staple of for 4. It should never be less than that, simply because it's just too good of a card, especially with things like other field manipulative decks. Kagero, Narukami, Mega Colony, Link Joker, Gear Chronicle, because we have no real way of putting things back onto the field. So that's why I run the draw triggers to, again, get more Dreadmasters to hand. There is actually, you could actually cheese your wins and force your opponent to really be angry with you, because you can play the grade 2 game as long as you have at least two of these in your back row, because they can't stride, they can't legion, they can't do anything outside of limit break. And those are the cards. Those are the only cards that can get around that. And because it is not an effect that targets, rear guards with a resist. Again, this is all about warfare on the hand. This card makes everything possible outside of Hagakure. So another key card with Hagakure. Grade 2s. We're running for the new card, Agito Maru. Agito Maru is Kuroko, just grade 9, but it's free of cost. So anything you've been in the bind zone, you attack, the attack hits the Vanguard, boom. There's no less cards, there's no more cards, there's no other conditions. That is it. The attack hits the Vanguard. And it's not only a rear guard, but it's a Vanguard skill as well. So should you be, stuck on a 2, this would be one of the 2s you could be stuck on, and just have a handful of Tamahagane. When you ride and you place them on Vanguard or Rear Guard, you bind something on your opponent's field. It is not likely that your opponent will have a resist unit until, later in the game when they start filling up their field. But even then, they're going to be very scared to fill up their field, because it's going to, unless they, are going to, guard the card so they don't get blown up. But they're going to have to block the Vanguard, and should you have 2 of this guy on rear guard, then they're going to have to block each attack separately. Not only that, but Dreadmaster backed up with this guy, they're going to have to worry about having a lot of 10s in hand, because a 16K column is nothing to sneeze at. With blowing up, retiring whatever's in the bind zone, even if it's that one card, it's fine, but they also have to discard a card. So pushing the damage and being a very pressure-like deck with the small card that does have is fantastic. And then I run 2 10K vanilla. Should I be stuck on anything, I would want to be stuck on this card. Now, you can run the Legion Mate, Kokujo, or Bois. I've actually had much success with. When I was grade locked, I would hit with this, with Dreadmaster boosting, and I would force my opponent to discard a card, and I would get the grade 3, because all my grade 3s are limit break and have the limit break ability. So grade 3s, running 3 of the break rag, Kuji Kitty Kongo. ride over him, get 10,000. Your opponent has to discard a card and bind the card face down from their hand. There is no other conditions outside of riding over this card. That's pretty much it. And yeah, that's why I run it at 3. I don't want to see it too often, but I would like to see it. I run 3 of the Fights Collection 2 card, Yozakura Kongo. I don't like discarding specific cards like the Legion has me do with the grade 3 or the grade 2. But with this card, I can discard any 2 cards I want to at the Counterblast 1. My opponent has to have 4 or more cards in their hand for this effect to go off. So again, fantastic card in my opinion because it's about hand control. I pick 2 cards from their hand, place them face down. I don't have to worry about them being at grade 3 for me to be in Legion. With the limit break enabler coming out, and should their hand be pretty decent, if they didn't play the grade 2 game of 2-2-2-1-1, whatever, and they again meet the hand requirements, then this is my go-to card. So I can start plucking from hand and then start killing things off, and with the grade 2 it really helps out. Then I run 2 Kabuki Kongo. It's not a bad card to have. I personally don't like binding the field because it doesn't necessarily attack the hand. Then again, with the grade 2 we have, it is a fantastic card to have. So you can run however many of this shit, whatever you really want to, because you can attack with this first, bind the field, and then attack with your Agitamarus. So yeah. Anyway, going to go ahead and show you my strides to finish up this video. I'm running 3 Joruri Rakan. This card is pretty decent for, if you wanted to be your first your first stride, that's fine. Counterblast 2 when this unit attacks. You can pick something off your... Now I use this card specifically for picking something off the field and killing it, because there's sometimes that I really can't stand seeing, a Silent Tom or Laurel or just about anything, and your opponent has to pick something from their hand and bind it face down of their choosing. So and then at the end of the turn, those 2 cards, should you have a heart with a sure stealth dragon heart, those 2 die automatically, regardless of Kuroko hitting or what have you. Now, should you have anything else in the bind zone and the attack hits, or they put something in the bind zone and the attack hits, Kuroko was always behind there doing her job. And then we have 1 Steel Blade Sure Stealth Dragon, Hayaku Jirakan. This card I would probably run at maybe 2. And maybe 2 is simply because of its effect of GB2, Counterblast 1, when you have a Sure Stealth Dragon heart. Choose 1 card randomly from your opponent's hand, bind it face down. Then, if their hand is 3 or less, you get to bind their field. Now that right there is like, oh, now you only have 2 cards to guard with. You have no field and 2 cards to guard with. This is pretty much your be-all, end-all card right here. Should the conditions be met, it's a fantastic card to do with 1 Counterblast. Sure, Stealth Dragon is a hard thing. Is never going to be a problem because 90% of the grade 3s are Sure Stealth Dragon, Kabuki, Yozakura, Kujikiri. Any of those 3 right there is pretty much what's going to win you the game. And of course, the on-hit Gerasurakan, they have to discard a card. So, hopefully this deck gave you a little bit more chaos, a little bit more mayhem at your card fighting areas. Should you make any changes or have any comments or suggestions that you would make, leave them in the comment section. Holla!